I didn't know a lot about the raw truth about Black history until I came to this class, and about my own culture, Jamaica. And I would take this class 10 times more if I had to. It was a really good experience.
I've learned the importance of the relationship between Latin America and the United States and how there is a difference between them, and it's important to acknowledge that difference.
I think I learned a lot. Well, I know I learned a lot about like Latin American history. I feel like it helped me put what I had learned previously abroad into perspective. And I also was able to learn more about like my culture.
Back in the 18th century, artists would paint mixtures of families. Like they'll have one race of a guy and another race of a woman, and then what they would produce in a child. And it's very, very, very intricate, like all the different mixes and what they call them and all that.
Whenever you go over the Caribbean or Latin America in any history books, everything is kind of, you don't really get a very good sense of what actually happened.
People that don't know about the real history to it, they should definitely like do their research before they say anything, because nowadays like everything is really fake news, if you guys probably heard the term. So you really have to do your research before.
I had an ideology of what I thought the Caribbean islands was supposed to look like. And through this thorough studies and reading these books that were presented in this class, I realized that Haiti wasn't what I thought it was. There was a lot of things I didn't know, as I am a Haitian. And just learning about Peru and learning about so many aspects of the Caribbean islands, it really, I can say, ignited a passion for me, for my country, for the islands of the Caribbean. And I was really able to understand things on another level.
But I really wanted to do like a creative piece, so I wanted to do a painting, and this is my painting. And basically I wanted to talk about how even though Black women are more likely to be sexually assaulted, their stories aren't brought to light and they don't get to tell their stories. So as you can see, there's different shades of Black women in the background, but they have no lips, they have no face because they don't get to tell their stories. And the one that's brought in the front and the most in light is the white face who has her mouth open, who's screaming her story. So
I chose this topic because I've experienced racism to me before in the past, like 2 summers ago, and it was actually very shocking that it happened to me.
Since we've sort of moved into a new implicit sort of dynamic, rather than having like lynching mobs and fire hoses, we have mandatory minimums and more segregated school systems and gentrification and things of that nature. So it would initially, I believe, take policy change and electing officials who have new, different perspectives, probably maybe a bit more radical than the ones we have now, because if we keep on
At Charles de Gaulle in Paris, they have these sleep stations. Do you know them? Oh my God, they are so blissful.
A lot about colonial past in the U.S. as far as geographically, so we know like here's where Germany's colonies were, here's where France's colonies were, like Britain's colonies, but we don't necessarily learn about the implications of what a colonial life is.
It was intentional to make us step on the bodies. I myself kind of tried to avoid stepping on the heads because it was feeling so uncomfortable.
Even if you can't identify the individual maker of this, you can still find out, which community it came from, whether or not it's still being.
What's your takeaway?
I'm very appreciative of this course because a lot of the things that I've started to wonder about and question in terms of culture and our history. I feel like a lot of it was talked about in this course. And it's not only was it talked about, but it's given me material to go back to kind of really get it to the point where I could possibly teach other people.
Read everything. Even if the readings were like so long, I would be like, oh, like this is long, but it's interesting. And I would find it's the first time I had so many notes for something that I like was reading.
A lot of white privilege is into the perpetrators of sexual assault, which is why I wanted to include it. When you look at like college communities, there is research that like white men are more likely to get away with sexual assault.
Like white people hear the word privilege and they get offended by it. So like this one woman that wrote an essay about it was just talking about it, and some guy, she got a lot of like bad reviews back from it, and some guy was like, why are you calling out white people, like, and it kind of turned racist, but he was like, black people have like many things that like they're privileged about too, which I thought was very interesting that he had that to say.
This is what's happening and this is why, so why isn't anything being done about it, you know?
Just looking at the inequalities in these countries that we weren't aware of to begin with, and then looking at them through our own lens of why is this even happening, and what can we do to change it.
I learned a lot from things that I've never known anything about. You kind of see the beaches, and that's what you think of in the Caribbean, but there's actually much more going on there than I thought.
I started thinking about it first, like, why is it the way it is? Like, how is it that we are so privileged in the way that we are and other people are not?
I took this course so I could be more aware of the problems happening throughout the world to not only help my clients, but also become more educated for myself. And this class has taught me a lot about not only what's going on in America that we didn't know about before, but also things all around the world.
And this course has taught me to think less ethnocentrically about many issues around the world and look at things from different perspectives.
I found out a lot more about the world and like the pressing issues and how we can talk about them and think more about them and be open and work towards solving them.
I think it's important to get a broad perspective of everything going on in the world. And this class has taught me that it's so important to have these conversations even though they can be uncomfortable and awkward.
That there isn't one specific way to fix it, but us even just knowing about it changes what's going on little by little in the rest of the world.
I took this class because it was part of a course requirement, but after I started really liking it because it's teaching us about racism and other things that goes unsaid in the world.
Like connected to the historical background of the Caribbean and then try to explain these situations, like why do we live in such a developed country and we can enjoy all these benefits that we have, while in regions like the Caribbean people have to struggle so much more and have so many more problems to face.
I took this course also as a requirement, but now as I've taken it over the year, I've realized that it's mostly important to everybody's point of view, and I also think that it's also very important to look at it not from only an American perspective.
I learned a lot that what I was taught about my country's history is like not what I learned at all, not what actually happened at all.
Not everybody can like see the problems that are conveyed to us through these books, and like when we were writing this paper, it was like things started like come together like so like easily, like, okay, well, this is what's happening and this is why, so why isn't anything being done about it?
If everybody is created equal as deemed in our Constitution, why are we still having like this social hierarchy based on race if race is a fiction? It makes no sense logically.
As well, where we thought Columbus was the savior, and it wasn't the case. So just all these dimensions of this course have really opened my eyes to have a comprehension and an understanding of this place we call the Central America. I'm grateful for Dr. Tafari for her knowledge and passion for this study, and I cannot wait to, as my colleagues stated, for me to be able to teach and give other American, Latin Americans or Caribbean Americans that are here, give them a greater understanding of the history of our island. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
At
couldn't imagine what it would have been like coming to Bridgewater to have this amazing experience, but I've found that there's been an amazing synergy that we have evolved, and as you have produced the tons of things that I still haven't fully marked, but I'm getting there. And reading through your work is what has taken me so long, because I'm captivated by the insights, by the passion to see things from a new perspective, which I think is the most rewarding aspect of being an educator, to see the engagement with the subject, to see your willingness to participate in the exhibition, which was an extra on your part, and you did it, and I really have been happy for it.